Hello and welcome to Ask the Coach. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym. This is one of the favourite webinars that we do. This is our Friday lunchtime every other week. We get coaches together. We got 2 new coaches again today that are here to help, here to support, here to share their views, their opinions, their knowledge, their expertise. So I will get them to introduce themselves in a second whilst you are voting on the questions. So we've collated questions from the last 2 weeks from our courses, from our training, from online, from our discussions box on the training gym. So the 6 questions we've got already, we're all going to answer. If you have any more, feel free to put them in there as an extra question. And if we have time, we will tackle those. If we don't know the answer, then actually we'll get a coach on next time that does know the answer. So please do vote on the questions. If you can't stay with us for the 45 minutes, put your question first and we'll try and tackle that earlier. Right, while you're doing that, let's hear from the coaches. I'm going to come to Claire. Oh, actually, Amina, you're off mute. Let's go to you first. So Amina, if you want to tell people who you are and what you do.
Yes, hey, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. My name's Amina. I'm based in Frankfurt, Germany, and I'm a mediator and resilience trainer, which means I work on conflict resolution in the workplace. And I also offer short seminars or training sessions, mostly lunch trainings, to improve well-being and positivity in the workplace.
Fantastic. We need all of that at the moment. So thank you for sharing and thank you for joining us from Frankfurt, making it a little international today. Claire, that link's lovely to you. So if you'd like to say to people that don't know you, what do you do?
It does link lovely. So for those who don't know me, I haven't been on Ask the Coach for ages, Angela, have I? So I'm the mental health and wellbeing coach for the Recruiting Gym. I've been in recruitment for over 25 years. And I'm all about bringing mental health into the workplace. So mental health first aiders, working with them to strategize, but also I'm about having those difficult conversations because that helps with stress and making sure we're managing our time well as well.
Okay. Yeah, so you've got a few short courses in the gym based around all those difficult conversations, getting more time. I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of that as well. Thank you for that. And last but not least, Jason.
Hi, thanks, Angela. Jason Lawson at Cloud Call. We are a phone and communication platform that works with CRM providers and ATS providers in the recruitment space. I lead partnerships at Cloud Call, so very much working alongside all the other technology that really helps and enables recruiters to do their best, and also spend a lot of time with other recruitment companies, understanding their needs and requirements, and about, again, how to make the best out of their people and their clients.
Well, that links to all of us. We're all here to get the best out of the people, the clients, the customers, the candidates, all the relationships that we have. So I can see that's going to be a key theme for us today. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your time. We do really appreciate it. This is the penultimate one before the end of the year. It's number 51. So actually the next one, we'll have been doing it 2 years. I can't believe it's gone that quickly already. Right. Votes are coming in. It's question 2 that's up first. So Claire, I'm coming to you first of all. What do you suggest I do when clients won't respond to emails regarding feedback? Oh, this is a little bit of a theme at the moment, isn't it?
And it's frustrating, isn't it? Because it's like, why aren't you responding to these emails? And I remember when I was in recruitment, it's just like, all I want is feedback on this candidate. All I want you to do is to talk to me. So something that we really, really need to think about is, how have I set this up at the beginning? What have I agreed with the client of when they've seen a candidate? How do I get the feedback on that? So nowadays, we've got the fantastic technology, and Jason can help us with that. But things like WhatsApp, it could be WhatsApp instead of email. A lot of the time, we just forget emails. I know myself, I'm going, that's not important. I'm not going to do that. Whereas WhatsApp, I will respond straight away, and it's nice and it's short and it's quick. So it might be that you should be WhatsApping them, getting their mobile phone number. They may prefer LinkedIn messages. How do they prefer it? And we've got to give them some times. Actually, time bound it. If you interview somebody on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, I would like the feedback by Wednesday at 11 o'clock because I need to speak to the candidate. So actually give them some time bounds. But it's really frustrating. We can get stressed over it, and it can be something really, really simple. So we don't want to be getting stressed. And it's just that opening up that communication, definitely.
I used to love the conditional close that we trained, or I was trained, and then I use it with mine. So if I was able to get you, let's say it's the CVs by this afternoon, would you be able to take my call tomorrow morning to go through them? So just double checking, setting expectations, getting agreements before you start working, because it's too late afterwards, isn't it? And then you sound like you're trying to enforce something, whereas having the conversation to start with, I think that's perfect.
But even on what you've just said, if I can have get you the CVs by so and so and have the interviews at so and so, why don't we book in the Zoom call or whatever video call before the interviews? Say you've got your 5 interviews on Tuesday afternoon. Let's book in the Zoom call tomorrow. Now, this is very different than when I was in recruitment, when we just had the phone. We've got WhatsApp, we've got Zoom, we've got so much now, and people are open to it. And I find if I'm just emailing or just phoning, I'm finding phoning is so old-fashioned. We want to see people. So let's book that in beforehand. We need to have a catch-up call. Let's strategize it from the beginning.
Yeah, and it is down to their personal preference, isn't it? Because I still get people that go, no, can we call? I'm like, yeah, but it feels weird for me, but that's what they want, so that's fine. Jason, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I certainly see with the recruiters that are really successful in getting that feedback as and when they need it, are looking at how they use a multi-pronged approach, omni-channel. So as I say, the email is always a really valuable tool in the ways that you can communicate. But as Claire says, having some WhatsApp, picking up the phone, sometimes you just might need to prompt, capture them even if you catch them on the go, you can always refer back to the email. We all get a lot of emails, so it's about how to bring it back to the front of their mind. So I think it's, again, thinking about different ways and different tools you can use to get the feedback.
Yeah, because everyone is so busy. So it might not be that they're being mean in any way, shape or form. It's just the fact that we've got to. One of my tricks, I must admit, if I'm waiting to hear back on someone, I do tend to go onto LinkedIn and look at their profile, because that will prompt them who's looking at you. And it might come up that they're like, Angela, I'm meant to have replied to that email, aren't I? So I know it works for me when I do it. So I try and do it the other way as well. Brilliant. Thank you for that. I've got some great ideas in there. Right. Question 5 is coming up next. So that's Amina. I'm coming to you. Oh, how can I make sure that I get the most out of December without pushing myself too hard? I find I always start winding down from about now. So this was yesterday. So literally we hit 1st of December. Someone put that in. So what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one, because December always comes so quickly every year, right? It's like, it's already December. But to me, this question really falls into the category of prioritizing and time management. So if you're coming from a place of overwhelm, so if the person asking is coming from a place of overwhelm, the first thing I would challenge you to do is to make a list of everything that you think you need to do. Just write everything down and then ask yourself, how important is this really? Like, compared to the things that really mean something to you, the things that are really important to you. And then I would strongly encourage you to prioritize your tasks and only focus on the things that truly matter to you, right? So if this includes scratching some of the things off your list, it's also an opportunity for you to practice authentic communication and setting some boundaries. And then you schedule your tasks over the weeks, right? So what do you have to get done in week 1, week 2, week 3? And that's a very practical approach. That's something practical you can do. But, and then here's the thing, if the person asking is coming from a place of fear or shame about winding down, because that's what I heard, right, in the question, like they're winding down early in December. So if they're coming from a place of fear or shame, then I would really encourage you to explore that and explore your mindset and think about, why is it that we normalize being busy all the time and kind of glorifying the grind, right? How come we measure our worth by our degree of productivity and in terms of output? Or is there a fear of missing out, or a shame, like shaming ourselves for being lazy? And this is something I would challenge you to explore, because I like to compare the year end to the last hour of a full working day. And how much can you actually get done in the last hour? Or what would you like to get done in the last hour of your day? So for me, ideally, that would be making a cup of tea and wrapping things up and putting things away, cleaning my desk, maybe reading an email that I haven't gotten around to read, or writing an email that's long overdue. So what you want to do is really square those big tasks away early in December, so you can actually lean back a little bit, enjoy the month, which is traditionally about love, right? And family, friends, staying warm. I have my tea right here. And especially after the last 2 years, I think, when we've been so isolated, I think it's nice to have this time of the year now to share and to reconnect. And this is also an important factor. And I'm mentioning this because I'm a resilience trainer and so passionate about this topic, because togetherness and connection is such an important resilience factor, because it strengthens us from the inside. And if I can add one more thing.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Do I have more time? Okay. Then if we look at nature, December or wintertime in general is a time of cocooning, right? Animals are hibernating, seeds are in the ground. It's not the time really to push and to go outward, but maybe to embrace the darkness. And even though it seems unproductive, embracing it in terms of resting, recharging, and maybe developing new ideas, like an embryo in the womb. Like, you would never say that the baby's unproductive because it's developing, right? So
I love that.
Yeah, just to summarize, I think December it's important that we get the important stuff done early, but we should also allow ourselves to nurture ourselves, to recharge, to rest, and make that a priority, because it's also very productive. And then you can start fresh in the new year.
I mean, I'm a visual, so I'm picturing all of that. I've got a tortoise, so the tortoise went up in the loft a couple of weeks ago. So again, when it happened, I was like, 3 months sleep. That sounds like a good idea. But the bit that really hit home there for me was glorifying the grind that you said. I've not heard that term before, and I just thought, yes, this is, I'm sorry, Claire, this is the 5 a.m. club, isn't it, that everyone's pushing. Now, Claire automatically gets up very early, gets loads done, but you are dead to the world at 9 o'clock when I'm doing webinars to Australia, aren't you? So there's a the push and the pull. But I think there was so much in there, yes, around the prioritizing. So we've got Claire's got a great short course called Creating Extra Time in Your Day. So obviously that relates to there, but that glorifying the grind and take time to review, reflect, and reimagine what next year is going to be. And that's all part of your job as well. That taking time out, analyzing and planning. I always felt guilty as a recruiter that I wasn't doing my job. But actually, when we interviewed the top 100 consultants, billing consultants in our company, all of them did a lot of planning. So they were so much better at everything else because they were organised. And I think that's what you're saying there, isn't it? Yeah, that it's a positive thing. So it's in nature. We should embrace it instead of pushing all the time and glorifying the grind. Lovely. Did you want to add something, Jason?
Just to say, I love the sort of idea of the seasonality of thinking about what December means, and also thinking about where the clients are at, or candidates in terms of what they're thinking about in December. Many, if they have the financial year starting in January, they're very much about planning and budgeting for next year in terms of client work. candidates might be thinking about holidays. So again, yeah, being in touch with how others are sort of looking at December as well.
No, lovely. Thank you for that. Got some great ideas, but actually for me, that's hit home quite a few of that as to embracing it, because I don't embrace winter at all. Right. Question 3 is coming up next. Oh, this has worked well. So we've got Jason next. How has the impact of social media affected the importance of email? So we already had that discussion around, we think email is less important. So yes, tell us more about that.
Yeah, I love this question. It talks to everything about what we do at CloudCall in terms of communication, and really think about the different channels and means and ways to communicate. So we all know social media today, in terms of the multitude of social media channels, whether it be a LinkedIn or a TikTok. And I think what that has done is obviously created many ways in which people can communicate, whether it be video or text or images and other ways. Where I think email still has a really important, valuable place is it can be that one channel which is typically very business orientated. It can be that place, it can be that repository of information that you can refer back to. I'm sure we've all gone back to email inbox and searched for that email that has the attachments or the details of what you really want to go back to. Where is that? You do that search. So I think that's using the other channels to really communicate and build relationships, and then leveraging the email as that kind of document sort of core, almost like a SharePoint in the Microsoft world. I think it's also about how to reimagine emails. Again, we've all at some stage subscribed to an email newsletter. One of which has come to mind is a marketing consultant on LinkedIn. Puts out some great points of view about marketing around recruitment, and subscribing to his newsletter, it's a 15 to 20 minute read. He also includes the audio version of the newsletter, and you'd think, who's going to open that? Who's going to read that? The stats he puts out, great engagement, great open rates, because it's valuable content that really adds value to his audience. So I think again, it's using the channel in the right way and the media in the right way. In terms of email, can be long form if it's valuable, but also thinking again about how it can be that place where people can refer back to the details that matter. So
I think it is important that people, what am I using it for, and actually is this the best method that I'm communicating through? Because some of the stuff that I get, and it's that initial reach out that approaches me as if we've been best mates for ages. They're the ones that I really hate, because I'm sort of reading, I'm thinking, I don't know you, wait a minute. It sort of draws you in, but then I'm annoyed.
Yes.
Because it's oh, hi, and how are you doing, and this, that, and the other, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, who's this? I can't remember them. Muddled brain. And then I realized, no, we've never spoken before, and it was the totally wrong approach. So again, what's a better way of doing things? We've got voicemails. We can do that on LinkedIn even, can't we, through that? So as Claire mentioned, there's so many different ways that we can approach. So I think you're right there with the email. It's what are you utilizing it for, so that people are receiving it in the right way.
Yes, and the power of technology is fantastic in that we can have that database of 10,000 candidate records, and we can plug that into an email system and automate hi, first name, talking about a role perhaps. But again, we need to be careful not to have that lack of authentic communication through email as well. It can become again, people can then just like ignore or avoid your emails if it looks like it's not authentic and personal and relevant to you. So I think again, really think about the purpose and method.
Well, you've potentially damaged your brand then, haven't you? Rather than enhancing it, you would have been better off not sending anything at all, because now you've gone the other way and made it worse. Okay, right. So we're still in on email. We just need to really think about how we're utilising it and obviously how people are receiving it, to pick up from there. Right. Next question is question 4. So Amina, I'm coming to you. How can I achieve a better work? Oh, we all want this one. Sorry. I just stopped halfway through and realized, oh yeah. How can I achieve a better work-life harmony in 2023? I noticed we're not using the word balance now. So if you could tap into that as well.
Thank you for that question. Wow, yes, I think we've discussed this topic a lot over the past years, but I think it's still relevant because there are so many nuances and layers to creating a healthy work-life balance or work-life harmony. And what I think helps in that discussion is to zoom out a bit, like take a step back and look at the two things that we have, right? On one hand, we have work, and on the other hand, we have life. And because of the way we work now, mostly remote, over different time zones, on various projects, and sometimes with a high workload, these two tend to blend and get enmeshed, and we end up feeling overworked and unfulfilled. So I think it's important when it comes to the work aspect to define what really works for you and what doesn't. So again, a practical approach, write down what an ideal workday looks like for you. When would it start? When does it end? When do you need your breaks? And during what times are you most productive? And maybe what are you still doing or tolerating that doesn't really work for you? And then once you identify that and take account of that, you can start working on it. You can start setting boundaries, having those difficult conversations with your coworkers, with your colleagues, with your manager. And once you've established this pillar, you can zoom out again and look at the other factor, which is very important as well, life. And many people say, I want a better work-life balance or work-life harmony. I have no life and I don't have time for anything. And then in my coaching sessions, when I ask them, what do you do, or what would you do if you didn't have to work and you still had the same amount of money that you do now? What would you do with your time? And they usually don't know what to say. And then I encourage them to explore, like, what does it really mean to you? What would you like to spend more time doing? And if you're having a hard time with that, I would encourage you to start writing that down. And especially, sorry, I'm getting a bit sidetracked, but it's really difficult sometimes to focus on the things that we want, and it's easier to focus on the things that we don't want. So maybe you can start from there. Write down the things that you don't want to do in your free time, and then go to what would you like to experience instead of that. And what also helps if I give them a list of values to choose from. For example, what are values? For example, freedom, family, being active, being creative, just being more joyful, having more fun. And then you pick the ones that matter the most to you, and you find the things that you can do to experience these things. For example, if your main focus is family, then I would encourage you to think about how you can experience family on a deeper level. Like, which activities would you pick? Would you go swimming? Would you play board games with your family? Would you go on hiking trips? Would you go to the movies or cook together? And how could you actually plan for that to happen and make it a priority in your life? And again, the key here is to know what you want and to actually make it happen. And this is how you take ownership over your life and create a work-life balance or work-life harmony that works for you. Because if you don't know what you want, or if you're not aware, it's very easy for other things or other people to come in and tell you what to do. But if you know what you want and what your focus is, what your priorities are, and you know what works for you, you can also set healthy boundaries, and you can make sure that you are in a good place, and you can set up that practical structure for better work-life harmony.
There's some really, really lovely points in there. And I think it's quite obvious, isn't it, when we think about it? Yeah, if you haven't actually thought about what you would do with that time, then the likelihood is you're just going to carry on and it's always going to be the same. It's never going to change. Work's always going to take over because you haven't even thought about what you want to do with it. So you're just going to go along with whatever is happening. But by actually proactively, like you say, taking a step back and thinking about, well, what would I do with that time? Right, let's now put that in action and do something towards it. And then that will start taking priority, that you'll have to say no to extra work and more time in there, so that it feels from there. So as an individual, I think that's probably quite easy. As a family, maybe Claire, that you could comment as well on this. Jason, I don't know, have you got a big family? I know Claire has, that it might be harder to coordinate everyone.
It is.
Yes, I have three children. I don't know if that's a big family in Claire's world, but yeah, I think certainly, you know, again with a lot of competing, you know, requirements on your time and focus and energy, I think having balance and boundaries, I think two things for me is really what I think about a lot. And I think, you know, to the name of the session, Ask the Coach, I think having a coach and or a mentor, you know, the best in any profession, be it sport or music or business, you know, they do have coaches or mentors that really help give you perspective and the tools to help manage, you know, all of those competing
even those people that you think even the people that you think are at the top of the game. I'm just thinking, we had the conversation recently that Tottenham Hotspur have got 11 coaches that work with all of the footballers. So you'd think they'd know what they're doing, but the whole point is there's always more to learn, isn't there? And there's always new things. Claire, you've got 4 children.
Yeah. So
coordinating all
more
of that.
than you, Jason. I actually find with having your own business and having a large family, it's finding for the harmony is time for yourself that's the hardest. And it's when you find that time for yourself, making sure you're really present in that being downtime for yourself. So the harmony there is clearing your head and making sure we're actually respecting that time for ourselves. So I'm going to give you an example of yesterday. I had an absolutely manic day with work. I drove over to Wales, delivered a workshop. I came back and I was exhausted. And it was a situation that I had 2 of my boy and my daughter. They needed things from me, constantly needed. And all I needed was the headspace on my own. And it was just like, just respecting that time that we all need headspace, all of us. It's not just the parents or just the teenagers, it's everybody. So to have that harmony, it's the mindfulness and clearing our heads that's very important. And I've had to learn to schedule that into my day because otherwise I wouldn't do it.
Again, plan the plan, isn't it? Get it in the diary.
Get it in the diary, work out when it works for you.
Kate O'Neill.
You really respect it and enjoy it, which is hard when we're living on this treadmill. You know, we're
That's
living on this.
Well. Yeah, that we don't feel the guilt that we're not working. I love Kate O'Neill, one of our other coaches. She has it in her diary, a day off each month for something that she does that's just for her. And she doesn't work that day. It's just for her. And she goes and does interesting stuff. So I think I'm going to take that tip from you both and start doing that. Thank you for that. Let's all get to that point next year. That would be lovely. Okay, question 6 is coming up next. So what are the coaches' views on the UK marketplace right now? Lots of stuff going on. So we're going to come to you, Jason, but if anyone else wants to comment on this as well, we've probably all got our own viewpoints. So Jason, what's yours?
Yes, yeah, I think we could have a whole separate session on just this one question. Yeah, of course, there's a lot of talk and speculation on the economy, the macro environment, the year ahead, as we're coming to 2023. I think, just unpacking the question, talking about the marketplace. So that's, really about where you exchange and transact, value. And, for me, a lot of that in the recruitment industry and relationships is all about building trust, being known, liked, around the specific clients or candidates that you're serving. So I think it's very much about actually, although there's a lot of unknown and potential change moving forward, is how do you remain present? How do you think about, December? What do you need? What do your clients and candidates need? And the rest of your business, it's your team or your peers as well. So I think it's very much about thinking about what's going to happen. There will be change. We are naturally at a peak in the market. And I know you've been talking through your book week this week, and one book that I like to sort of bring out at these times is a book called The Six Thinking Hats by Edward de Bono, and it really breaks down and allows you to kind of compartmentalize the different thoughts. We've all got a lot of competing thoughts in our head, and it's right taking that white hat, which is talking about the facts. Right, we're at a peak. Pay increases and pay grades are, they've been pushing the ceiling right throughout 2022. Again, we're probably hitting a peak of that cycle. Getting candidates to really think about their next role, maybe more about flexibility in their role or other benefits in that offer. And then thinking about, say, the green hat, which is about creativity. Right, what can we do different going forward? The environment's changing. How can we adapt? How can we plan for that? There's a black hat which talks about caution. Of course, you need to plan for a different scenario. What if the market changes? Perhaps then it's thinking about, well, it looks like healthcare and transport, and there'll be certain segments that may be more resilient. So can we adapt? Again, thinking about different hat. There's a blue hat, talks about process, right? So can we put in process or systems that will help us, go through sort of different times in the market? So really, able to really pinpoint the different thoughts or concerns that you might have, bring that back to what does that mean for you as a business, as a recruiter, and for the people you serve.
I love that. We've got the link in there already. I have heard of that book, but I've never read it. I don't know if either of the other coaches have, but yes, Edward de Bono. So let's pick up on that, because you're right. Compartmentalizing things, I think that helps with the question before as well, isn't it? Is actually separating out the work and the family and the life that you have, because we are in a situation where it has been merged so much for many people. I'm looking at all of us. I think we're all at home today. Claire, we will come to that picture in a second. Do want to hear about that. But yeah, our lives are merged with our work. So if we can still can't say it, compartmentalize. Thank you. I can read lips, so I got it, Claire. Then that's going to make it so much easier, isn't it? Yes, of keeping things separate in that sense, so that you can just look at what you need to, rather than everything being massive everywhere. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's have a look. We've got, with regards to question 1 then. So Claire, this one's yours. I've got a manager that I work with that I really struggle to communicate with. We're very different people, so that's a good indicator of the reason. But it always seems to end up with passive aggressive comments. So obviously the style of communication sounds like it's not great either. So you come across this quite a lot. You deal a lot with this. Amina, I'd like to get your thoughts on this as well afterwards. So what can they do, Claire?
Well, this is a really interesting one, and I'd just like to say I was actually mouthing compartmentalised
I know,
to you. I wasn't
that's why I could say
saying it because I was on mute. I was
Oh, cool.
mouthing it even though I was on mute. So anyway, let's go to the question, because this question can be actually interpreted in so many different ways, and we can answer this in so many different ways. So I'm going to take the angle of mental health and well-being, because what happens to us is often we get stressed and we can interpret things differently. So we need to think about, first of all, why am I interpreting it that this manager is passive aggressive? What are they saying? How am I feeling? What's going on in my brain? And think about, is it because of stress? Because we're all stressed? Is it because this manager's like this with everyone? Or is it just the way I'm filtering it? So what can happen is we go into the brain, we go into the emotional part of the brain, which is the amygdala, and we do the fight, flight, or freeze there. And we might be interpreting that this manager is passive aggressive. That's our interpretation of it. This is how we feel. However, the manager's not feeling that at all. The manager is perceiving themselves in a completely different way. So I think opening up the communication is important. Understanding what your triggers are. Is it their tone? Is it what they've said? Is it that they remind you of their mother, your mother, who's always been horrible to you and been passive aggressive? What is it? What is it? And we just need to build a relationship with this manager and maybe be a little bit honest and give them some feedback. This is the way I'm interpreting you're behaving. Yeah. And here are some examples. So I delivered a fantastic workshop yesterday on giving and receiving feedback. So the thing is, we also need to receive feedback. The manager needs to receive feedback. We all do when we're growing. So it's, how are we interpreting it? What are those triggers in our amygdala? What's going on? And I'm going to refer to the picture now, Angela, because I strategically sat here, didn't I, Angela? And the reason is so many officers have got these up for their well-being now, and they're colouring in. Here, I'll put it a little bit closer so that you can all see. That's London, which I love this one because I just absolutely love London.
Oh, it's the wheel. I get it now.
The wheel of London. It's all different parts of London. It's an amazing one, actually. And if we can get onto a different level with our manager, what can often happen is, and I remember one of my team members used to call me her boss, and it wound me up. Every time she said, oh yeah, boss, what do you think? Or boss this or boss that. And I'm like, we're in this together. We're meant to be collaborating. I'm not your boss and you're down here. It's no hierarchy. So these little triggers can wind us up. But if we can get on the same level, build that trust, understand each other, understand that there might be certain words that are upsetting us, and what's actually going on in this relationship. Are we at opposite ends of behaviors in that, you know, I like doing things a certain way, they like doing things a completely different certain way. So we're attracted to each other, but we also frustrate each other. What's actually going on? So that is a great team building activity. Have it up when we're stressed in the office. Go and do a bit of colouring in. I've got a big box of colouring in pencils. As you can see, we haven't done it for a while, but, you know, have different things to connect with people.
So I suppose this is another version of the water cooler moment, isn't it? Or having a coffee. But actually, you're probably going to spend a good 5 minutes, if not 10 minutes, at the wall colouring in. So even from a de-stress point of view, where it's just, why don't we go and have this conversation while we're colouring in? I mean, how different is that? But you're right. You're sort of focused in on that bit, and the likelihood is it might be an easier conversation to have while you're actually doing something that's a bit fun and a bit different. I mean, wonderful. So do you promote these then with your clients?
I do actually. And I have put a couple of social media posts, and Jason, it goes with one of the hats. I think it's the creative hat, the green hat. And, you know, we're tapping into one of the 6 hats, De Bono's 6 thinking hats. And Yeah, I do. I've done some social media posts on this. I've given some of these out as gifts to some of my clients. It's just a great de-stressor in the office. There are different ways that we can de-stress.
Well, it took me straight back to my Christmases when I was little, because my sister and I would both get one of those. It was about that size, in a tube, so we knew exactly which present this one was, and it was usually animal related. I used to love the under the sea ones, and we'd get it out every day and we'd do some colouring, and then it'd go back in the tube for the night, and then by New Year we'd have a good 6-7 days worth of time. But that was my mum's quiet time. That was get your colouring out, and we would sit there at the table with our, and we would spend a good hour colouring.
And no screen time in those days. Mum's quiet time now. I was like, get on a screen.
No, you're right. Yeah, do it from there. But sometimes those simple things where you are literally just doing it and take you out of yourself a little bit can help to diffuse the situation as well, can't it? So whether it is that, or whether it's going to a coffee shop and having the conversation there where you're in a different environment, take the worky bit out of it so that you can just talk as people. Now, I think that's quite brave for someone to approach the other person and say, this is how I'm perceiving it. So have you got any tips on how to start that conversation? Because I think some people, because this could be managers, this could be anyone that you're struggling communication with. It could be your client. So how do you open it up?
It's really, really tough. And what we need to remember is that we don't want to get into an emotional zone. It's about people's behavior, not their personality. So we don't want to attack anyone's personality. And this is where it's tough. So it's really working out our opening words. And our opening words need to be objective and not attacking. And looking at our tone as well. We don't want to trigger them. So I've found one of the most powerful ways to open up a conversation is to say something like, I've noticed, and say, this is what I've noticed. I've noticed that at certain times you may get frustrated at me. It sounds frustrating that you're frustrated. Tell me how you're feeling. What's going on?
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, because we all get that at some point or another. My marketing team will know this morning I was slightly frustrated on something that came up, and I'm sure they noticed that my demeanour and my tones changed slightly, because we all get frustrated. There's going to be those times, but to be able to actually tackle that and have that conversation, I think that's brilliant. I'm catching up. I've been away, so I'm catching up on I'm a Celebrity. I've only just had the first person go out, but I've just watched the Matt Hancock Boy George conversation where Boy George was, look, hands up, I've been slagging you off. I've been saying this recently, and I wanted to say it to your face because we don't get on. We're different people, different policies. And Matt Hancock came out and went, that was a really good conversation. I was like, brilliant. That's what we need, isn't it? That openness where people know where they stand. They can still get along. You might be different people, but having that appreciation that you're different people makes life so much easier, doesn't it? Rather than it all been simmering under the surface. And I think that's where the passive aggressive stuff was coming in.
And the key question is, what's going on for you? What's going on for you? It's about them, not I've noticed this and you're driving me balmy. It's all about me. It's like, I've noticed that you seem really tense at 2:00 every Friday, good example, every 10, what's going on for you? And it could be a case that they're really tense and they snap at you because they're worried about their kids getting home from school. We don't know. We don't know what's going on in their life. It's probably got nothing to do with you.
Potentially, definitely. Right, wonderful. Well, look at that. Minute early. Hello, guys. Let me just double check that we've answered all the questions. We have. Wonderful. Well, there you go. 45 minutes. Great insight, great information. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure we've helped quite a few people today. There's been some lovely discussions around what to do, the practicals and the softer touches as well. We'll be back in 2 weeks for our last one of the year, and that actually is a day or so before our 4th anniversary for the Recruiting Gym, so we'll be celebrating that as well. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. We'll look forward to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Angela. Bye, Jason.